Today's show brought to you by redcon1.com. That's right. Click the link at the bottom of the podcast app in which you are listening to this on. Check them out. Use promo code T20Quartermiss. That's right. redcon1.com.
There's nothing special about being American. None of you can define for me what an American is.
I am the nation. I was born on July 4th, 1776, and the Declaration of Independence is my birth certificate. The bloodlines of the world run in my veins because I offered freedom to the oppressed. I am many things and many people. I am the nation. I'm 200 million living souls and the ghost of millions who have lived and died for me. I'm Nathan Hale and Paul Revere. I stood at Lexington and fired the shot heard round the world. I'm Washington, Jefferson, Patrick Henry. I'm John Paul Jones, the Green Mountain Boys, Davy Crockett. I'm Lee.
Coming to you from the DTOM Studios in the free state of Florida, sponsored by Maker's Mark Bourbon, this is Don't Tread on Merica. Guys, how's everybody doing out there today? It is Sunday, August 24th, 2025. How y'all doing out there today? All right, I got a good show for you guys today. I think it's a very interesting topic, and we'll get to all that in just a minute here, guys. Real quick, couple things. What I need you guys to do is make sure you're following the show. Whatever podcast app you're listening to this on, make sure you're subscribed. You hit the plus button, you hit the follow button, whatever that button is. Doesn't cost you anything. There's no Patreon. There's no bullshit. I'm not going to sit there and give you a show and tease you with the punchline. If you go to my Patreon, I'll tell you the rest. I'm not doing all that shit. This is the show. It is what it is. I just need you guys to follow it and share this. If you're listening to this on Apple or Spotify, if you could please leave me a rating, that'd be great too. And if you are on social media, guys, follow us on Facebook, Instagram, True Social, and the Ticker Talker at Don't Tread on America. And on the Twitter X Machine, DTOM Podcast 1776. And if you're not on social media, that's fine. I completely understand. You can still follow the show at the website, DontTreadonMerica.com. And if you have anything you want to ask me or any questions or anything, any topics you want me to cover, you know what you can do there? You can email me, DonQ at DontTreadonMerica.com. And guys, if you want to get some cool-ass show merch, you know what you can do there? Guys, anybody? Bueller, back there in the back? Yeah? That's right, you can go to the DTOM Store. And the good thing about the DTOM Store is all proceeds go to Tunnels to Towers. So get you a t-shirt, get you some swag, represent the show. That way when people ask you, what the hell is DTOM? You can tell them, it's Don't Tread on Merica. And of course, it's that time. So we're going to crank it up. Let's get this show on the road, right, guys? That's what you're saying. And we're getting right into it because that's what we do now. Today we're going to talk about government psyops and television. And I'm going to pick on one show in particular. So we're going to play our song, courtesy of one Ted Theodore Nugent. And then we'll get to it right after this.
But you better not set your sights on me.
Alright, guys, you gotta sing along with the chorus. You know how it goes. Merica, come on. Merica. Alright, let's go. Come on. Merica. Alright, guys. Welcome, truth seekers and late night conspiracy buffs, to Don't Tread on Merica, the podcast where we dive headfirst into the wild, wackiest, and sometimes downright unhinged theories floating around the internet. And of course, I am your host, Donq, and today we're going on a journey. So you need to buckle up for some serious, unfiltered speculation. So picture this, if you will. It's 2007. You're flipping through your channels, and you land on a new sitcom called The Big Bang Theory. Nerdy scientists, laugh tracks, and a catchy theme song by the Bare Naked Ladies. Seems harmless, right? But what if I told you that this show was secretly a government propaganda machine designed to brainwash you into accepting the Big Bang Theory of the universe's origins and rejecting the idea that God created everything? That's right, folks. Today, we're diving into a conspiracy theory that claims the Big Bang Theory, the sitcom, not the science, was a covert operation to push a secular, science-driven agenda or marginalize religious creationism. Is this true? Is this crazy? Or is it somewhere in between? We're going to unpack all of it, from the show's origins to the science of the Big Bang, to why someone might think this is plausible. And don't worry, I've got time to make sense of the madness, so we're going to go deep. But before we get started, what I need you guys to do is grab your tinfoil hats, your favorite beverage, coffee, some Dubby energy drink, or holy water. I got mine right here. And if you're feeling extra spiritual, let's get into it. Oh, and stick around. We're going to do a couple commercial breaks here. And we'll shamelessly plug some products. You know, we got to keep the lights on. We got to keep this show rolling. So what we're going to do here is we're going to get to this in just a moment, guys. So hang tight.
Expansion started way over the earth began to cool, the autotrophs began to drool, Neanderthals developed tools, we built a wall, we built the pyramids, math, science, history, unraveling the mystery that all started with a big bang.
So this is how all of this started, in a drunken haze, to be honest with you. Let me get my other music started here. Alright. So, let's lay some groundwork. First, what is this conspiracy theory? So, one night, I was drinking some whiskey, shocking, and I was tripping balls on some nicotine. I was really riding high. And I came across this idea. I was actually watching The Big Bang Theory on TV. I actually liked the show. When the theme song that I just played came across. And this is what happens sometimes when I'm working, not even when I'm working on the show, when I'm just sitting there. And then, I don't know what it is, but these thoughts just come into my mind. And like I said, I was watching the show, the theme song played, and I was like, I wonder if this was all, a propaganda machine. Because, I mean, and we're going to get into this here in a minute, but the show itself doesn't really propagandize the Big Bang Theory per se, but it's the theme song, okay? And so I started doing a little research, okay? So I stumbled across this idea on Twitter back then, and this is a shout out to Cosmic Skeptic 420. I guess that tells you all you need to know, right? For the post that got me down this rabbit hole. The gist is this. The Big Bang Theory, the sitcom that ran from 2007 to 2019, wasn't just a goofy show about nerdy scientists. It was allegedly a deliberate tool, maybe funded by the government, NASA, DARPA, the Illuminati, take your pick, to promote the Big Bang model of the universe's origins, to undermine the belief that a divine being like God created everything. Now, if you're new to the Big Bang Theory, the show, not the science, it's a sitcom created by Chuck Lorre and Bill Prady. It follows four scientists, Sheldon, Leonard, Howard, and Raj, and their neighbor Penny, who's like the normal one. It's got nerd humor, pop culture references, and a lot of canned laughter. It was a massive hit running for 12 seasons, and it made geeks cool, or at least coolish. And I'll be honest with you, I watch it pretty frequently, the reruns, obviously. I've gotten away from watching Friends. Guys, you'd be happy. I'm out of the 90s of sitcoms. I'm into the early 2000s of sitcoms. You're welcome. Anyway, the title, The Big Bang Theory, isn't just a cute nod to science. According to the theorist, it's a calculated choice to drill the idea of the Big Bang into your brain every time you hear the theme song. You know, I just played it. The whole universe was in a hot, dense state, right? Admit it, you're singing in your head right now. The idea is that by making the Big Bang a household term, though a funny sitcom, the government, or whoever's pulling the strings, normalizes this scientific narrative and makes creationism, like the story of Genesis, seem outdated or silly. So let's break down the claims. The theory has a few key points. The show's title is propaganda, embedding the Big Bang concept in pop culture. The portrayal of scientists as quirky, lovable nerds makes you trust science more than faith. There's some shadowy government or elite involvement behind the scenes because you know Hollywood's always up to something. The ultimate goal is to suppress creationist beliefs, especially ones tied to religion. Now, I know this probably sounds weird, right? But before we laugh it off, let's take it seriously for a second. Why would someone believe this? Well, conspiracy theories often come from distrust. Distrust in institutions, media, or science. And the Big Bang Theory aired at a time when debates about science versus religion were hot, especially in the U.S., where creationism and intelligent design were being pushed in some schools. So maybe there's a kernel of truth here, or maybe it's just a wild leap. But let's dig deeper. First, let's talk about the Big Bang Theory itself, the scientific one. The Big Bang is the leading cosmological model for how the universe began. About 13.8 billion years ago, all matter and energy were compressed into a super hot, super dense point, and then boom, it expanded, creating space, time, and everything we see today. It's backed by evidence like the cosmic microwave background radiation and the red shift of galaxies. Fun fact, the guy who first proposed it, George Lemaitre, was a Catholic priest. Yes, a priest. So, the idea that the Big Bang is inherently anti-God isn't even true for everyone. The Catholic Church, for example, has said the Big Bang is compatible with faith, like God could have kicked it off. But for some folks, especially young Earth creationists who believe the universe is 6,000 to 10,000 years old, based on a literal reading of the Bible, the Big Bang is a threat. It's a scientific story that doesn't need a deity, or at least it doesn't explicitly mention one. So you can see why a sitcom called The Big Bang Theory might raise eyebrows for those already skeptical of mainstream science. Now, let's look at the show. Does it actually promote the Big Bang Theory? Well, not really. The characters are physicists, engineers, and astrophysicists, but the show's more about their social awkwardness, relationships, and Star Trek references than cosmology lectures. There's an episode where Sheldon mentions the Big Bang, but it's not like they're preaching it every week. If anything, the show pokes fun at science as much as it celebrates it. Sheldon's arrogance, Howard's creepy pickup lines, you know, the vibe. So, why the conspiracy? I think it's all about the title. It's catchy, it's memorable, and it sticks in your head. If you're already suspicious of science or Hollywood, you might see that title as a dog whistle, like, hey, let's make everyone think the Big Bang is the only game in town. But is that enough to call it propaganda? Well, let's hold that thought. So we've got plenty of time to unpack this. So we're about 20 minutes in, and we've set the stage. So coming up, we'll dive into the origins of this conspiracy theory, where it's popping up online, and whether there's any evidence. Spoiler alert, it's thin, but first, let's take our first commercial break. So please don't go anywhere. Alright folks, we're just getting started, and things are already getting weird. But before we dive deeper into this conspiracy, we're going to take this quick break, and we're about to explore where and why this particular conspiracy theory exists. Craving a cleaner, smokeless nicotine experience? Discover ALP nicotine pouches. The ultimate way to enjoy bold flavors and lasting satisfaction anytime, anywhere. With ALP, you get premium tobacco-free pouches and refreshing mint, wintergreen, sweet nectar, and tropical fruit flavors, available in 3, 6, and 9 milligram strengths, discreet, moist, and packed with quality. ALP pouches fit your lifestyles, whether you're at work, on the go, or doing a podcast. Right now, new customers can save 10% on their first order at alppouch.com/DTOM. That's right. Visit alppouch.com/DTOM. Grab your favorite flavors starting at just $24.95 and enjoy a smokeless revolution. Don't miss out. Stock up on ALP nicotine pouches and save 10%. Just go to alppouch.com/DTOM. Order now for a fresher, better time. Alright guys, welcome back to Don't Tread on America. We're diving into the conspiracy theory that the Big Bang Theory sitcom was a government Psy-Op to push the Big Bang model and sideline creationism. Now, let's get into where this idea comes from and why it's got traction in certain corners of the internet. So, I first came across this theory on Twitter, where it's been floating around in posts from accounts like TruthSeeker777 and Woke Up Sheeple 2023. One post I found from late 2023 said, and I'm paraphrasing, why did they name a sitcom The Big Bang Theory? It's not a coincidence. It's to brainwash you into accepting atheist science over God's truth. The post got a few hundred likes, some retweets, and a lot of replies ranging from you're on to something, and this is the dumbest thing I've ever read. So you got both ends of the spectrum. So I did some digging, This theory seems to have roots in broader conspiracy narratives about science and media. For decades, some groups, especially those skeptical of mainstream institutions, have claimed that science is used to control narratives. Think of claims about NASA, faking the moon landing, or evolution being a lie to undermine religion. The Big Bang Theory's conspiracy is like a cousin to those ideas. It's less about the show's content and more about what it represents. Science in the spotlight and religion in the background. Let's talk about the online ecosystem. On Twitter, this theory pops up in threads about Hollywood's influence or government propaganda. It's not mainstream, so don't expect it to trend like Area 51 would. But it's got a niche following. I found similar chatter on Reddit's conspiracy and some obscure blogs, like one called Cosmic Deceptions, that claims Hollywood is a tool of the New World Order. No hard evidence, just vibes. So, why does this resonate with some people? Well, distrust in the media is at an all-time high. We've talked about this plenty of other times, guys. Polls like the one from Gallup in 2024 show only about 30% of Americans trust mainstream media, which is why you've seen such a rise in podcast popularity. I mean, there's millions of podcasts, guys, on either side, whether it's conspiracy theory shows, pro-right-wing government, pro-left-wing government, pro-United States, or any other country. Millions upon millions of podcasts worldwide. And millions of conspiracy podcasts, which, by the way, we're ranked 38th, but that's neither here nor there. Anyway, that's why the distrust in mainstream media, because you have alternative media like this show. Hollywood's seen as an extension of that, a machine pumping out narratives to shape how we think. Add in the science versus religion debate, which has been heated since forever. You can see why a sitcom about scientists might raise red flags for some. But let's look at the show's origins. Now, something else I want to point out too. You figure a lot of these theories came out after the show was off the air. I mean, it's still in reruns on different networks. But these theories didn't... what I noticed when I was looking at this stuff is a lot of these theories didn't happen until COVID. And I think that's interesting to me because as much as prior to COVID, there was a lot of distrust in the media, distrust in science. But when COVID hit and then they started to push all this stuff on us, the distrust became even greater. Okay? And this particular show, Don't Tread on America, was born out of that situation. But let's look at the show's origins. The Big Bang Theory was created by Chuck Lorre, the guy behind 2.5 Men, Young Sheldon. He's a TV comedy king, not exactly a government operative. The show was pitched to CBS as a way to capitalize on the growing popularity of nerd culture. Think Star Wars fandom, Comic-Cons, that kind of stuff. The pilot was shot in 2006, and it was a hit because it tapped in the cultural moment. Geeks were becoming cool, and sitcoms needed fresh angels. Or angles, I should say. Could the government have gotten involved? I mean, Hollywood and the feds aren't strangers. The Pentagon has worked with filmmakers on movies like Top Gun to make the military look good, but a sitcom about physicists, I should say, that's a stretch. There's no paper trail, no leaked emails, no whistleblowers, no shady contracts linking CBS to NASA or the CIA. And trust me, we've looked. And I've looked as much as a podcaster with a laptop and way too much whiskey can, which means 30 minutes because I probably passed out. Still, let's entertain the idea if this was propaganda, what's the motive? The conspiracy folks say it's about control. Control the narrative, control the culture. By making the Big Bang Theory a household name, you make it harder for creationist ideas to compete. But here's the thing. The Big Bang was already mainstream science by 2007. It's been taught in schools since the 1960s. Backed by evidence like cosmic background radiation, did the government really need a sitcom to sell it? Seems like overkill. And the show itself, it's not exactly a science textbook. It's more about Sheldon's obsession with Star Trek than cosmology. If anything, it pokes fun at scientists as much as it celebrates them. Sheldon's a genius, sure, but he's also a socially stunted weirdo. Not exactly a glowing ad for science. But one thing I will say is this. The title is clever. It's catchy. It's memorable. And it does put the phrase Big Bang Theory in your head. Could that be enough to make people associate science with the truth, quote unquote, the truth, and creationism with old school? Maybe subconsciously, but that's a long way from a government conspiracy. So, let's talk about the religious angle. The show doesn't bash religion outright. Sheldon's mom, Mary Cooper, is a devout Christian, and she's portrayed as loving, if a bit overbearing. There's no agenda to mock faith, more like gentle ribbing of all belief systems, science included. If this was propaganda, it's pretty subtle, too subtle possibly. Alright, so we're about halfway in, guys, and we've covered the theory origins and why it's got some traction. Up next, we'll get into the plausibility or lack thereof and whether this holds up under scrutiny. But first, another quick break, so please hang tight. Alright guys, unlock your online freedom with DTOM. Tired of online restrictions, risky Wi-Fi, or trackers following your every click? With NordVPN, you're in control. Get military-grade encryption, blazing fast speeds, and access to over 6,300 servers in 111 countries. Stream your favorite shows, game securely, or browse worry-free on up to 6 devices with one account. Plus, NordVPN's Threat Protection Pro blocks ads, trackers, and malware for a smoother, safer experience. And right now, save up to 74% on a 2-year plan. Plus, get an extra 4 months free with promo code DTOM at NordVPN.com. That's as low as $2.99 a month. Try it risk-free with a 30-day money-back guarantee. Don't wait. Secure your internet today with NordVPN. Visit NordVPN.com, use promo code DTOM to unlock the deal. We'll be back in just a minute. Alright guys, welcome back to Don't Tread on America. We're deep into our exploration of whether the Big Bang Theory sitcom was a government plot to push the Big Bang model and sideline creationism. So far, we've covered what the theory is, where it comes from, and why it's got a small but vocal following. Now, let's put on our skeptic hats. Mine's tinfoil, as you can see. Actually, it's a gator hat because college football starts this coming week. And obviously, and see if this thing holds water. First, turn that down just a little bit. Let's talk plausibility. Could the government or some elite group use a sitcom as propaganda? Sure. That's it. Show's over. No. It's not impossible. Media has been used to shape public opinion before. Think of wartime propaganda films or even product placement in movies. But a sitcom about nerdy scientists, that's a weird choice. If you're going to brainwash people, why not a blockbuster movie or a news channel? A sitcom's too sitcom-y. It's got laugh tracks, fart jokes, not exactly the stuff of CIA operations. And let's look at the evidence, or lack thereof. I scoured the Twitter X machine, Reddit, and some sketchy conspiracy blogs, and there's nothing concrete. No leaked memos, no whistleblowers, no shady bank transfers to Chuck Lorre's account from government Psy-Op LLC. The best evidence is the show's title and the fact that it's about scientists. That's it. And that's not evidence, it's speculation dressed up as a theory, or a conspiracy theory. Hello. What about the production side? The Big Bang Theory was made by Warner Brothers Television and Chuck Lorre Productions. CBS aired it. These are commercial entities driven by profit, not ideology. The show was greenlit because nerd culture was hot in the mid-2000s. Think The Lord of the Rings and the rise of tech giants, all that kind of stuff. It wasn't about cosmology, it was about cashing in on a trend. Now, let's talk about the Big Bang itself. The scientific theory doesn't need a sitcom to sell it. By 2007, it was already a dominant model in cosmology, backed by decades of evidence. NASA's COBE satellite in the 90s confirmed the cosmic microwave background, and the Hubble Space Telescope showed the universe is expanding. Schools teach it, universities study it. If the government wanted to push the Big Bang, they'd already won that battle. A sitcom would be like bringing a Nerf gun to a tank fight. And the religious angle. The show doesn't go hard against creationism. There's no episode where Sheldon stands up on a soapbox yelling the Big Bang disproves God. In fact, the show's pretty neutral. It pokes fun at everyone, scientists, religious folks, comic book nerds. If it's propaganda, it's the laziest propaganda ever. But that could also be the genius behind it. So let's play devil's advocate. Could the title alone be enough to nudge people? Like, you hear Big Bang Theory every week, and it becomes this familiar, friendly idea. Maybe it makes you less likely to question it, or more likely to roll your eyes at creationism. Subliminal messages through a sitcom. It's not impossible. Marketing works that way. Think of how Coca-Cola makes you crave a soda with a single ad. But there's a big leap from a catchy title to a government psyop. But we're also talking about a combination of a situation. Schools teach it. Science backs it. I think also what also happened in the early 2000s is there's a rise on the belief of the flat earth model. And we're not here to discuss that. You can believe whatever you want to believe. I'm just trying to point out that since the creation of the internet, and especially into the 2000s, the expansion of the internet and the stuff that you are allowed to see on the internet made a lot of people question a lot of things. Okay? And whether you believe in the flat earth, whether you believe in the round earth, whether you believe in the Big Bang Theory, whether you believe in creationism, the idea is, in all honesty, we don't know the truth. And I'm not going to sit here and make that argument one way or the other. Okay? I have my beliefs, you have your beliefs, and essentially, That's what they are. They're beliefs. Because I could sit here and argue one side of the belief, my belief, against your side and your belief. And you know what? Neither one of us are going to be right because we don't fucking know. I've had this conversation with plenty of people, and the comment from those people are science backs it, science does this, and science does that. But my personal belief is this. I'm so distrustful of everything. And this, I'll be honest with you. I just turned 52. So in my 47 years of life, never questioned anything. I believe in God. I also believed in the this is how I believed it. Kind of like what I said earlier in the show. My belief at one time was that the Big Bang Theory was factual, but that God kind of made it happen, if that makes any sense. You know, science will tell you, oh, the gases did this and circulated and blah, 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 and that's how it happened. And I believe that that was the case, but God made it happen, if that makes any sense. So I was kind of on both sides of the spectrum there. In the last 5 years, since COVID's really opened my eyes to the distrust of the government, of science, of media, of TV, movies. I barely watch anything, to be perfectly honest with you. And I started thinking, well, what if? What if it's all a lie? So I got into a conversation with, one of my coworkers, and I was like, his argument was, well, science says this, that, and the other thing. My belief on that is that, and I'm not saying I'm right. I'm could be way off wrong, and I could just lose, the listeners that I have. And you know what? Whatever. I personally believe that if you have something, whatever that something is, you can make whatever your theory is, make that make sense. You understand what I'm saying? You can say, we could sit there and look at a piece of paper and say 1 + 1 = 2. But I guarantee you, you could make an argument that maybe it's 0.5 + 1.5 = 2. 1 + 1 doesn't actually equal 2. I'm not saying it doesn't. I'm just saying there's ways you can make things happen. You can make science come to the conclusion that you want, if that makes any sense. And another angle, obviously, is the distrust in Hollywood. Some folks believe Hollywood's a machine for pushing agendas. Secularism, liberalism, whatever. And yeah, Hollywood's got its biases, like any industry. But a coordinated effort to suppress creationism through a sitcom is a stretch, and you would need a lot of people, writers, producers, network execs to be in on it. And nobody's leaked anything in 12 seasons. Not one disgruntled intern has come forward with I was paid by NASA to write Sheldon's lines. But I think that's not, we're missing the point. The point is if you're if you're a sitcom writer and you're in on it, you don't necessarily have to be paid by NASA. You could be being paid by Chuck Lorre or Warner Brothers or whoever it is via those entities. Excuse me. And I base all this on the fact, and this is obviously a show for another day, but the creation of our learning system. And I think we've touched on this before with the, Rockefellers. And how our learning that became more, I don't want to say mainstream, but became more centered, came from one idea. And we're taught not to. When I was in school, I had a class called critical writing. And the point of that class was to just have ideas, however strange or crazy those ideas were, and to write them out. They don't even do that anymore. They don't want you, and it's not like we're talking hundreds of years ago when I was in high school. We're talking, 30-something years ago? 35 years ago? We're not talking forever ago. Nowadays, we're not taught, these kids are not taught to think. They're taught to learn what's in these books that's put in front of them. And that's something you have to think about. When you're watching a television show, a program, if you will, you don't think about it. It's just a TV show. I'm not thinking about nothing. I'm just enjoying whatever I'm watching. But that's the idea. That's where the subliminal thoughts, maybe the show itself and the characters in the show don't portray the anti-God agenda, but just like I said earlier, just the title of the show, the theme song. I mean, maybe we should center it on the bare naked ladies. I don't know. And that's the point. If the show itself is not about the Big Bang Theory, then why is it called the Big Bang Theory? Right? I know I watched the show, so I know for a fact that the show isn't centered around the Big Bang Theory. I understand that. So why is it called that? The science versus religion debate was big in the 2000s. You had court cases like Kitzmiller versus Dover in 2005, where intelligent design was challenged in schools. Some folks felt science was being weaponized against faith. A show called The Big Bang Theory could feel like a jab, even if it wasn't intended that way. But correlation isn't causation. Just because the show existed during a tense time doesn't mean it was part of a ground plan, but it also doesn't mean it wasn't. So, where does this leave us? The theory is fun to think about, but it is a little thin. I'll admit came to me on a glass of whiskey and 12 milligrams of a nicotine binge. So, I'm just saying, that's what happens when I drink a little bit. It's built on distrust and speculation, which I'm full of, not facts. If the government wanted to push the Big Bang, they'd probably fund a documentary or a school curriculum, not a sitcom or canned laughter, which they do. We're getting close to the end, so hang tight, guys. So stick around for the conclusion. Up next, we'll wrap up with some final thoughts, a look at why conspiracies like this persist, and maybe a wild what-if scenario. But first, our last commercial break, so please, hang tight, guys. Stay with me. All right, guys. It's that time. Power up with Dubby Energy. Get ready to boost your focus and energy with Dubby's clean, crash-free energy drinks. Perfect for gamers and anyone needing a quick pick-me-up. Use promo code DTOM at checkout to score 10% off your order. Go to dubby.gg. Don't miss out. Grab your Dubby Energy now and level up your game. Dubby Energy and DTOM. Makes sense, guys. All right, guys, we are in the home stretch of Don't Tread on Merica. We spent a while diving into this wild idea that the Big Bang Theory sitcom was a government Psy-Op to promote the Big Bang model and push out creationism. Let's tie it all together and see where we land. First, the verdict. The verdict is in. This theory's more fun, obviously, than fact. there is no evidence. Zero, zilch, just some whiskey and nicotine, guys. That the Big Bang Theory was anything more than a sitcom chasing ratings. The title's catchy, sure, and it might make the Big Bang feel like a cultural staple. But that's just good branding, not a CIA plot. The show's creators, Chuck Lorre and Bill Prady, are comedy guys, not government stooges. And the Big Bang Theory itself, it's already mainstream science. A sitcom's not going to make it or break it. But let's give the conspiracy folks some credit. They're asking questions, and that's not a bad thing. Distrust in institutions, government, media, science fuels theories like this and keeps this show alive. And yeah, Hollywood's got influence. It shapes how we see the world, whether it's through superheroes or scientists. Could a show like this subtly nudge people towards accepting science over faith? Maybe. It's a stretch to call it intentional propaganda, though. So, why do conspiracies like this stick around? Because they tap into real feelings. People worry about being manipulated, about losing their beliefs into secular world. The science versus religion debate is emotional, especially for those who feel their faith is under attack. A sitcom called The Big Bang Theory becomes an easy target, even if it's just a comedy about nerds. So let's do a quick what if for fun. Let's say the conspiracy is true. Imagine a smoke-filled room where NASA execs and CBS suits are plotting. We need to make the Big Bang cool, they say. Let's hire Jim Parsons to play a quirky scientist. It's absurd, but it's a great movie pitch. Hollywood, call me if you guys have any need for another show. It's all, in all seriousness, guys, though, this theory reminds us to stay curious about skeptical sources, dig for evidence, and don't let a catchy idea run away with you. Now, I did have some fun exploring this, and I hope you did too. If you've got any thoughts, please hit me up. Let me get my music on here. Oh, shit. I almost fucked that up. All right, guys, if you have any thoughts you want to hit me up on the Twitter X machine at DTM Podcast 1776. And maybe you've got a conspiracy theory you want me to tackle. Flat Earth, lizard people, whatever. So that's it for this episode of Don't Tread on America. Thanks for sticking with me for over, almost 50 minutes or so. You guys are the real MVPs. If you enjoy this, please share this with your friends, fellow truth seekers. Leave a review and keep questioning everything. But maybe not too much. But until next time, guys, keep your tinfoil hat tight, and your mind open. This is Donq, and I'll be signing off. But real quick, guys, I want to give you a little heads up. The show later in this week, I'll probably do it Tuesday. Today's Sunday. It's going to be a good one. We're going to talk about the Middle East. And the Middle East before Israel was a country, and what that has to do with everything that's going on right now. So, guys, I encourage you to please tune in, follow the show, subscribe, follow the show on social media. You can see what's going on. Until then, you guys have a great day, and I'll talk to you in a couple of days. See you later. Peace out.